I've been a fan of Russ Meyer for, I guess, most of my life at this point, and I'm not that young anymore, so I suppose you would say this list is a long time coming. Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob, and today I am ranking every single Russ Meyer film. Man, that's a big project. Throughout his career, Russ worked in a number of different genres, and what I'm going to do is rank the films in those genres separately. So if you're interested in his Nudie Cuties, for example, you can just take a look at that section. I'll put time codes for all of the genres in the description. At the end of the video, I will do my overall top 10 Russ Meyer films. Alright, let's get started. Well, let's start at the beginning. Russ invented the Nudie Cutie, so let's take a look at his Nudie Cuties. Coming in at number 4, Eve and the Handyman. This movie is colossally stupid, based on a joke, and it is a terrible, terrible joke. Russ didn't have a very good sense of humor, and it shows in this picture. Which wouldn't be so bad if we actually had some nudity and a Nudie Cutie, but here's a Nudie Cutie without any nudity. Well, almost without any. There is some, but not nearly enough, and none of Eve. What the hell, Russ? Number 3, Naked Girls of the Wild West. Another really stupid movie, terrible jokes. The only thing that makes this better than Eve and the Handyman is there's a bit more skin. Still pretty bad, though. Number 2, Erotica. Okay, this one's actually pretty good. It's not very funny. In fact, it's not really funny at all. But it is, unlike the previous two, full of skin, and the skin looks pretty good. Number 1, The Immoral Mr. T is the film that invented the Nudie Cutie, and it's actually pretty good. The women are really attractive, it has a good gimmick, the ending joke is actually pretty funny. Yeah, this is a solid film. Genre number 2, documentaries. These are pretty similar to the Nudie Cuties in that it's just a stupid excuse to put some nudity on the screen. The difference is they're not funny. They have some other sort of pseudo-documentary gimmick that justifies all the nudity on the screen. Fine with me. Let's see how they are. Number 4, Pandora Peaks. This is probably the worst Russ Meyer film ever. It's the last one he did. I think he was starting to suffer from dementia by the time he put this together. Terrible movie. Do not recommend it. Stay far, far away. Number 3, Europe in the Raw. He did this one when he was in Europe filming Fanny Hill. I'll talk about that film later. The gimmick here is it's a documentary about the burlesque, dancer, and prostitute scene in Europe. And what he did was he put a camera inside a suitcase to get some sort of behind-the-scenes footage. Unfortunately, there's not much behind-the-scenes footage, and what there is pretty lame. The only thing that's sort of remarkable or interesting about this movie is Russ was a really good photographer, so it is kind of like a vacation photography vlog of Russ's time in Europe, so that's kind of cool, you know, with architecture, photography, and things like that. As a nudie film, not very good. Number 2, Heavenly Bodies. Okay, this one actually is pretty good. The justification for the documentary here is it's about fashion and nude model photographers. So the film does talk a lot about these old cameras and, you know, says why the photographer is picking this camera over that camera. That doesn't really matter. What does matter is it's photographed very well, and the women are beautiful. A lot of them are swimming in pools. It's bright and sunny and nice. And yeah, this one actually is pretty good. It's a bit like watching a live-action Playboy centerfold shoot. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Number 1, it was a close race between this and Heavenly Bodies, but number 1, I gotta go with Mondo Topless. This documentary is just basically Russ interviewed some strippers and had them talk about what it's like to be a stripper or a dancer, and then they strip and dance. Man, what a genius idea. What slightly edges this out over Heavenly Bodies, in my opinion, is the women are a little bit more Russ Meyer-esque, if you catch my meaning. And the music is actually really cool. And there's some familiar faces in here. Pat Barrington's in here, Lorna Maitland, and my favorite, Darlene Gray. She's not familiar, but she's my favorite. Next up, the Gothic period. In the 1960s, Russ made 4 black and white films, and all of them are excellent. Pretty hard to rank them, but let's take a look. Number 4, Lorna. This was Russ getting into slightly rougher territory with his nudie films. It wasn't the first roughie, but it was among the first. Lorna Maitland is beautiful. The story is very typical Russ Meyer. There's some sort of hammy acting, but overall, pretty good film. Number 3, Motorpsycho. The film debut of Haji. Very nice. This is a revenge film. A woman is attacked and her husband takes revenge and he joins up with Haji. Great movie. I already covered it on the channel. You can check that out over here. Number 2, Mudhoney. Another great film. This is a period piece. Takes place during the Depression, and a farmer looking for some work, works on a farm, gets tied up in all the drama on this farm. Really great. Number 1, no surprise to anybody, Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill. This is many people's favorite Russ Meyer film for good reason. The dialogue is super snappy and awesome, and the acting is super fun, and I love this movie. It's fantastic. John Waters said it was the best film ever made, and possibly the best film that will ever be made. Man, that's high praise. Next up, the dramas, or you might call them the melodramas. After the Gothic period, Russ got more into soap opera style filmmaking, and that's where these fit in. I'm cheating a little bit because I'm going to include 2 films which probably don't really fit here, but they still are dramas, so close enough. Number 6, The 7 Minutes. This was the second and final film that Russ did in the studio system, and it's pretty boring. It's about a trial of a book which put on trial for obscenity. Seems like kind of a cool idea for a Russ Meyer project, but it's not cool. It's really boring. If you want to watch a good movie about an obscenity trial, check out The People vs. Larry Flynt. That movie is amazing. Number 5, Black Snake. Russ made a blaxploitation film. That should be my favorite thing ever, but it's not. This film can't quite decide what it wants to be. Is it serious? Is it funny? Is it sexy? Tries to do all, ends up kind of failing. The photography is pretty good, but can't really say much else that's good about this movie. Number 4, Common Law Cabin. This one is another one written by Jack Moran, the writer of Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill, and it's okay. There's kind of a weird incest storyline, which is kind of like woo. And yeah, it's fine. Not great, but it is better than Black Snake and The 7 Minutes. Number 3, Finders Keepers, Lovers Weepers. Not many people like this movie, but I like it okay. It's about a guy who owns a strip club, and he's got troubles with his wife, and she decides to rob him. Yeah, pretty cool. Number 2, Cherry, Harry, and Raquel. What a weird movie this is. Partly it's weird because one of the actors left with 10 days left to shoot, so Russ couldn't really finish the story the way he wanted. He made up for that by bringing on Uschi Digard and filmed her nude in lots of different situations and just cut that all the way through the film. Makes no sense at all, but Uschi is, oh my god, she's a goddess, so that's kind of cool. And the whole thing kind of has this weird sort of art house surrealist feel to it. Kind of a cool movie because of its weirdness, even though it doesn't really make much sense. Number 1, Good Morning and Goodbye. This is another one that not many people like, but I really like it. And I really like it because it has some great, great dialogue. It's another script from Jack Moran, the guy that wrote Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill, and I think this is his second best script he did for Russ. Finally, the sex comedies. Aside from Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill, these are the films that Russ is probably most famous for. In place number 6, Fanny Hill. I mentioned this before. Russ came to Europe and worked with the West German film company, and he made Fanny Hill. It's really not very good, though. There's no nudity, and it's not funny, and it's kind of a weird situation to kind of make funny anyway. It's based on the book, which is quite famous. If you want to see a good movie that's based on Fanny Hill, or at least tells a very similar story, check out the Tinto Brass film Paprika from the 1990s. That film is pretty hot. Number 5, Up. Another really, really weird movie. At this point in its career, Russ had pretty much given up telling stories, I think. The only thing of note in this film is it stars Raven Delacroix. I really wish she had been in a better Russ Meyer film. She's amazing. It's worth watching for her, but the film itself, no. Number 4, Beneath the Valley of the Ultra Vixens. Like Up, this is another really weird movie with very little in the way of story, but I still think it's better than Up because at least at the beginning it's really great and super funny, and there's this wonderful scene with Kitten, Natividad. She's trying to convince her husband to, get it on. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Movie itself, not very good. Number 3, Vixen. I also covered this one on the channel. Pretty solid flick. Kind of kinky, definitely probably Russ Meyer's kinkiest film. Eric Gavin is wonderful. The acting here is pretty solid. Story here is pretty good. Yeah, this is an actual movie that you can watch. Number 2, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, the first film that Russ did for the major Hollywood studio system. I don't think this film has aged very well, partly because it's a satire on the kinds of films Hollywood was doing in the 60s, and not many people, including myself, know very much about Hollywood in the 60s, so a lot of the satirical points are lost on us. And Russ really tried to get an R rating with this film instead of an X, so he cut out a lot of the nudity, but then he got an X anyway, and it was too late to put the nudity back in, so yeah, it should have gone harder. It probably would have aged well with more, exploitation elements. As it is, still pretty entertaining movie, and I can recommend it. Number 1, Super Vixens. Wow, now this is an exploitation film. It has the best collection of Russ Meyer women. It's got a great villain. It's got some hardcore violence. It's got some great visual gags. It's well photographed. It's fun all the way through. Super Vixens, awesome. And there we are. And now for my overall top 10 Russ Meyer list. If you don't know where to start with Russ Meyer, this is where you start with Russ Meyer. Number 10, The Immoral Mr. T's. Not many Nudie Cuties are really worth watching anymore, but this one is. Number 9, Mondo Topless. Well, it's a stupid movie, but it's a gorgeous movie, and the music is fantastic. Put it on and have it as background at a fun party. Number 8, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Fun, trashy movie. I don't think I completely get it, but I still like it. Number 7, Cherry Hair and Raquel. Well, Uschi makes this film. Her parts don't make any sense, but she makes this film. Number 6, Good Morning and Goodbye. The second best Jack Moran script makes for a pretty entertaining film, despite the fact there's no nudity here. And it's still good enough to make my top 10. Number 5, Lorna. The first of the Gothic films is a pretty solid film. Number 4, Motorcycle. Really great film, still holds up. Historically, it's kind of interesting in that it was one of the very first films to explore PTSD in Vietnam vets. Kind of cool. Number 3, Mudhoney. What a great drama. Who knew Russ could make a great drama? And a pretty hot one, too. Number 2, Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. Yeah, it doesn't make my number 1. I love it. It's awesome. I've seen it many times. The poster is hanging right over there. Great film. Definitely watch it. Super fun. All the way through. Great, but it's not my number 1. Number 1 is Super Vixens. Watchers of my channel are probably not surprised to hear me say that, but yeah, this film, super great. Best collection of Russ Meyer gals, super funny, super violent, everything about it is super. There you go, Russ Meyer ranked. Do you disagree with my ranking? Let me know how yours is different in the comments.